As you can see, this box truck remains completely untouched here tonight. Now, we were able to actually get inside the Ashley Furniture home store and get a tour of the destruction. We don't know much at this time, but right now police are blocking off several streets here in downtown Wilkes-Barre. I'm going to step out of the way so you can see. We're along Wilkes-Barre Boulevard at Butler Street. The owners say they captured him on this surveillance camera. Now, he didn't break in through the back door, probably because it says that it's being monitored. So instead, he climbed underneath the building and climbed through that air duct. Guilty on all 12 counts. That's what the jury of 8 women and 4 men decided after more than 4 hours of deliberation inside the room at the Pike County Courthouse behind me. So you have nothing to say on the fact that you're accused of inappropriately touching 7 male students? They tell me they will pack up and go home once all of this is cleared. And then Jamie and Ryan, that's when the real cleanup for many of the people here begins. So I actually just bought tickets of my own. Actually, guys, I bought 3. See, 3 tickets. 1 for myself, 1 for each of you. So let's go ahead and try to kick down this door. Just like that. Not only did they fill that trailer, they filled an entire second trailer full of items that is going to go to the victims of Hurricane Harvey. Today, the cleanup following Wednesday night's tornado in Wilkes-Barre Township got underway. And we also got a clearer image of the path it took as it made its way across Mundy Street, as shown here in the graphic. Crews spent the afternoon boarding up several buildings that have been declared destroyed and will eventually be torn down. Our cameras were the only ones there to tour the destruction at Ashley Furniture with owner James Everett. The devastation is indescribable.
The tornado went through the center of our building, dead center. Ripped the roof off, made the furniture showroom into debris. The front of the building and the very back of the building, a little bit of not destroyed, but damaged with water and some wind.
Everett owns the building and has been here for 20 years. He says while county officials deemed it safe, it'll likely be torn down.
It's 100% loss. For the inventory and the structures, not salvageable. We're going to have a few engineers in here on Monday, but a preliminary walkthrough with some of them said it's got to be torn down.
Across the street at Chipotle, engineers deemed the building safe, allowing workers to return to work.
We iced our food, but when I came in this morning, the ice was just water. So it's been hot lately, so we lost a lot of chicken, steak, all of our expensive stuff. So
many in the area tell us it sounded like a freight train rolled through just as the clock struck 10 that night. Chipotle employee Matthew Corbett was inside at the time.
It was like one of those school drills that you never thought would happen. Get down here, get under the desk, get under here. We didn't know where to go. So my other manager was like, hey, we all need to go either in the office or we need to go in the bathroom. So, it was a real drill. We went in the office, we all hid there, we all locked the door.
Thank God nobody was here because I don't know, there would have been severe casualties without any question if it would have been 3 hours earlier.
And while this is Everett's flagship store, he does have several others in the area and says that despite the damage to this Wilkes-Barre Township location, it will be business as usual at the other locations and orders will not be affected. So some good news there. Reporting live tonight in Wilkes-Barre Township, I'm Brian Sheehan, Fox 56 News, 1st to 10. Today, millions of people packed Center City, Philadelphia for the Eagles Victory Parade, including many from our area. And everyone we spoke to say this first World Championship is long overdue. Before the sun rose, hundreds packed buses in Wilkes-Barre to make the trip to Philadelphia. The reason? On Sunday, quarterback Nick Foles led the team to their first Super Bowl victory. Joe Pardini of Pringle has been waiting for this moment his entire life. But it's a moment many others thought would never happen.
It's like the movie Rocky. We're the underdog who don't, they don't believe in us. They say, well, Philadelphia is a bad place to go to. No.
Once they arrived, they joined millions of other fans who made the trip from all over the area, some from across the country.
I'm president of Eagles Headquarters South.
I live in Casper, Wyoming.
I'm from Patterson, Louisiana.
It's a celebration many say they've been planning their entire lives.
A long time, little girl on my dad's knee.
But some fans luckily didn't have to wait that long.
I'm ready to see the Eagles, and I'm ready for for the parade.
Jeff Kavanaugh is from Jessup.
There's people waiting down here for 60 years for this to happen, so you never know when it's going to happen again, so you got to be a part of it.
It's been a long time, but everybody's pumped up and ready to celebrate.
All for a mere glimpse of those buses carrying the underdogs. Nearly everyone counted out. An underdog no more, but a title fans cherish.
Underdogs can win! Yes!
For many people we spoke to, being a Philadelphia fan is a lot more than just about the sport. It's a culture, a lifestyle, and a celebration of what brings us all together. And that's exactly what today's celebration honoring the Philadelphia Eagles, the world champions of football, was all about. Reporting in Philadelphia, Brian Sheehan, Fox 56 News, 1st to 10.
17.
17.
17 minutes of silence at Scranton High School. Each minute to represent a life lost in the Parkland shooting.
That could happen to anybody. There are kids my age that went through that and they weren't expecting it at all. And it could happen to any of us here or anywhere.
Many can't vote yet or make their own legal decisions. But today they and scores of others across the country took part in an unprecedented nationwide movement.
We're here to show the students that they're not alone and that we're here to support and that we believe in what they believe in and that we're a big community in general.
They want to see stricter gun laws.
Obviously, there's a problem going on recently, and something has to be done about it.
And restrictions for those who shouldn't have access to firearms.
There needs to be mental checks. There needs to be a list of people who aren't allowed to have a gun.
They differ on their opinions, but they all strive for the same goal.
Have safer schools. Definitely have to be safe in school and all in general in the world.
And largely they are. Since 1990, there have been 7 school shooting incidents resulting in 14 injuries and 9 deaths in Pennsylvania. Compare that to California, where there have been 19 incidents, 47 injuries, and 16 deaths. These students are hopeful change will come soon. After all, this day was inspired by their peers, the survivors of Stoneman Douglas, who turned into activists the day after the shooting.
Us doing what we're doing, we're helping them as well, speaking out and showing the politicians and the government that this is what we want, this is what we need.
17 minutes of silence, hoping for a lifetime of change.
Makes me think that our generation is strong and that we can do what we want to do, and that if we try hard enough, we can make change.
Many students here at Scranton High School also plan to travel to Washington, D.C. for the March for Our Lives rally on March 24th. In Scranton, Brian Sheehan, Fox 56 News, 1st at 10. Brittany O'Gurkis spent 4,015 days in the foster care system here in Luzerne County. And tonight, in a revealing conversation, she opens up to explain how she believes children and youth failed her every one of those days.
It took my trust, it broke my heart, it hurt me, and I had to suffer, and I shouldn't have had to suffer. I would have rather off stayed where I was.
Brittany O'Gurkis' nightmare began on a summer morning about 15 years ago when a children and youth caseworker showed up to her Wilkes-Barre home.
She asked where our parents were and that she's going to take us to McDonald's.
Brittany says she and her 4 siblings grew up poor and never ate at the popular fast food chain. Excited for a special treat, they piled into the caseworker's car. But instead of going to McDonald's, she took them to Luzerne County Children and Youth Services.
We were in there for about a few hours, and then a caseworker came in and said that we were going to a different home for temporarily.
But as Brittany would later realize, it wasn't temporary. With her siblings scattered in foster homes throughout the county, Brittany and her youngest sister ended up at what she calls an abusive home in Hunlock Creek.
I went there thinking I was going to return home and that, we were all going to be together. And then I was going to get McDonald's and I didn't, and here I was being tortured in this home and they didn't want to listen and they didn't want to, I don't know if they wanted to help, but they didn't help.
Brittany says she and her sister told the caseworkers about the abusive conditions and were met with false promises.
It's like they did nothing about it. It's like they didn't care.
Released in September, the State of the Child report focused on 13 counties, including Luzerne and Monroe. The 80-page document highlighted the system's strengths and challenges. For instance, the state spent nearly $2 billion on the program in 2016. But 46 children died, and another 79 nearly died from abuse. Nearly half of those children who died were in families already known to CYS. It also found many caseworkers are extremely overworked and largely underpaid.
And they're overwhelmed. They don't know how to handle those situations. It's one of the most, in my opinion, most dangerous jobs for such a small amount of salary.
Growing up, State Representative Tara Toohill's family fostered more than 40 children. Her foster brother Brandon accidentally died after suffering years of abuse at the hands of others.
The problems that existed back then in the 90s when I was a foster sibling, they still exist today. So the system was broken then and it still continues to be broken. There's certainly not enough funding and enough programming that goes towards these children.
Another issue, they're significantly understaffed while the number of cases continues to increase. In 2015 alone, 42,000 calls to the state's child abuse hotline went unanswered. The number of reported abuse cases in the 13 counties also increased between 2014 and 2016. 39% in Monroe County, 63% in Luzerne.
Our job is to kind of be a detective to find out what's going on, make sure services get in place for the families, and make sure the children's in the safest place. But a lot of times we don't have that. We knock on doors, they refuse to answer. We rely on the law enforcement to come out with us if the parents are being extremely volatile.
Brittany vividly remembers a conversation she and her sister had with a caseworker who came to visit about a year after they arrived at the home in Hunlock Creek.
We were crying, we were like, we don't want to be here, you know, they abuse us, they don't feed us, they lock us outside all day, they make us drink out of the water hose. And she's like, okay, don't worry, we'll be back. And she never returned after that to come get us.
The two were eventually removed from Hunlock Creek. From there, they went to live at a home in Wilkes-Barre where they stayed for several years. With her clothes in trash bags, Brittany left at 18 to live with a friend. She soon began taking classes at LCC. It was there, after class one day, when she decided to open up and share her story with her teacher, Lori O'Gurkis.
She took my hand and she's like, from this moment on, you'll never have to be alone and I'm gonna help you. And she did.
A few years later, Lori and her husband legally adopted Brittany when she was 21 years old. While her life has significantly changed since then, she hasn't forgotten about the children in the system and the caseworkers who might be failing them as well.
That's what your job is. It's basically saving children's lives and helping them, and they're failing at that. And I think if they had the right mindset, like if they actually cared, it would have been better, but I don't think any of them cared. Honestly, that's just my opinion.
While Toohill says there have been improvements, especially when it comes to adopting foster children, we still have a long way to go.
We need more foster parents. We need more people to go into becoming caseworkers. We need more funding towards those salaries because they're important jobs.
Meanwhile, Brittany wants the children who may feel forgotten to know there are advocates who are fighting to save their lives.
Even if they're hurting, don't give up, you know. They were given this life because, like that saying, they were given this life because they're strong enough to live it. So it's like, find that strength and keep going.
Now, Brittany says that she leads in a happy life with her adoptive family and hopes to adopt children of her own one day. In the days leading up to this story, we also received many messages and calls from you sharing your own stories of concern with children and youth, and we are committed to looking into each and every one of them. Reporting live tonight in Wilkes-Barre, Brian Sheehan, Fox 56 News, First at 10.